whole universe is change, and life itself is but what you deem it. Or at least that's what Marcus Aurelius said. Let me tell you about a patient. He came in and he was telling me, he said he drank a fifth of vodka, did 3 lines of coke, put the gun to his head, and pulled the trigger. But the gun didn't fire. And now he's alive to tell the story. He said that God saved him that day, and that he never drank again. He saw his world, as it was. It was malleable yet fixed. It was a contradiction. But sometimes it's in that contradiction that we find the truth. I want to tell you something that may seem a little depressing. But everything in the world, everything, is empty. What do we mean? See, that everything is dependent on everything else. Everything is made up of smaller things. All these smaller things make up the bigger things. And there really doesn't seem to be any end point. We can only categorize things based on how we see them, but not necessarily how they are. Think about it like this. Your body is composed of multiple parts. You've got your brain, your hands, your heart, etc. But those things are composed of cells. Those cells are composed of atoms. Those atoms are made up of particles and empty space. And there's more empty space than full space. How does that work? Each atom is dependent on the other one to make up the cell, and each cell is dependent on the other ones to make up the organ, and each organ is dependent on the other to make up the person. You get an electron off here and there, and the atom changes, the cell changes, the organ changes, the person changes. You kind of get where I'm going, right? All things are made up of other things. What makes a thing a thing? Well, maybe there's only one thing, and we're a part of it. So not only is everything dependent on other things, not only is everything composed of other things, but each of these things are constantly in a state of change. Everything changes. It's like the old saying, you can never step into the same river twice. Now, nothing lasts, and the only true constant is change. You're not the same as you were yesterday, and you won't be the same tomorrow. Every moment of your life touches every other moment and then becomes the collective you. All the parts adding together. Now, to say that everything is empty doesn't actually mean that there's nothing. In fact, just the opposite. It's a contradiction, but an example of the reality we live in. It might seem like a strange idea, but let's just kind of keep discussing. All right. Who was Marcus Aurelius? He was the emperor of the Roman Empire between 161 and 180 AD. He studied Stoic philosophy, and he kept a journal that would later be published under the title Meditations. And I don't think he ever intended anyone to read the dang thing. He wrote, and his thoughts, and it's some of the most thought-provoking commentary on life, you're going to read. He had these profound things to say, and considering that he ruled the world at the time, it makes it all the more fascinating. He was kind of like a modern-day Solomon, if by modern day we mean, somebody who lived 2,000 years ago. Let's look at that quote that we started out with. The whole universe is change, and life itself is but what you deem it. Now, what does this mean? Does it mean that you just kind of make it up as you go? Maybe. But the idea is that life changes constantly, and it's going to, no matter what you do. You can't stop it. You can't control it. You can't hold on to it. But you can roll with it. You can work on your emotions and how you live your life to use the momentum of change to propel you forward. You aren't the same as yesterday, and maybe that's a good thing. Life is what you deem it doesn't necessarily mean do whatever you want, because to a Stoic, they would say you've got to live a virtuous life. A life centered around truth and purpose. And this is what I think he was trying to say. That how you perceive life is exactly how you will experience it. Your opinions matter. They form your worldview. And too many people are living with such a heavy weight of negativity. It's so heavy that they can't carry. But at the same time, some people are living with so much optimism that they're blindly walking and falling off a cliff. I think it's in that balance that we find peace. To stare into the emptiness of life that we talked about, and find meaning. That's purpose. Because in a way, we create our world. We create these values. We create this purpose. Now, the more you see the world a certain way, then the more it becomes that way. Your eyes are going to fool you, but they will also tell you the truth. Your perception is your reality. Now, think about this. Your life is one of change. You are a person that changes. Every day something new. This means that if you're depressed, there's a way out. Because what you are today doesn't mean that's what you'll be tomorrow. Today you start a new journey, just like the day before and the day after. You can't bend fate to your will, but maybe you can do something else instead. Maybe you can just be. You can be content with who you are, where you are, and why you are. Because all you have to do is blink, and then it's something new. Like my friend that I told you about at the beginning. You know, his life changed when that gun didn't go off. He became a man face to face with emptiness, and he embraced his change. But it didn't end there. I mean, he got help, he went to rehab, and he fell in love with life again. You know, maybe you can still be happy in some small, yet very significant way. And it may turn out to be the very purpose of your life. You know, happiness. It is possible. No matter how dark things seem to be, you're always 1 second away from change. So take advice from Marcus Aurelius and be the king of your world. Accept fate and be glad you're exactly where you are.